Hey guys, this is Patrick with Fstoppers.com, and today I've just received a really cool product that's going to revolutionize the way that you clean your sensor in your camera. When you mail your cameras back to Nikon, Canon, Leica, apparently this is the exact product that they're using to clean your sensor, but for some reason it has not been available anywhere except Germany until now. You're definitely going to want to check this out. So what is this product? I have it right here. This is a sensor gel stick. My good friend Nasim Mansurov over at photographylife.com was nice enough to send us a few of these. And unlike other cleaning products, this has no liquid, there's no wet process. What this thing actually is, in this little tin packaging here, is a wand with, I don't know if you can see this, a little piece of gel on the end that apparently when you stick it onto your sensor, it will pull the dust, dirt, even oil that you might have in your D600 right off of the sensor, and then you can transfer that dirt onto a little piece of sticky paper. So in a minute, we're gonna take this out and test it on some of our DSLR cameras, but before we do that, let's see how this actually works with this filter that I have here. It's just a neutral density filter, and we've put a lot of dirt on here. We wanna see how this thing actually works before we use it on our cameras. Now, we've decided to use this neutral density filter because it's really dark and you're going to be able to see this with the contrast really well. So we have a lot of dirt, dust, grime on here, but just to even go one step further, I'm going to take my finger and leave a fingerprint right here on the side, which hopefully you've never done on your DSLR. And we're going to see if this will actually remove the oil left by my finger. So let's take this cap off and let's see how this thing works. So we're just going to take this gel and we're going to just apply it straight to the glass and then pull it straight up. And look at that, it's actually pulling off all of this fine dust right off the glass. Let me do a couple of these and see how clean I can get this whole little area. And as you can see, there's no residue being left on the glass, which is really great. And I am one of those people that hates the thought of cleaning my sensor, so I've actually never done it myself. But from the looks of this is amazing. This is pretty easy, and if this works as well as it is right now on my sensor, I would have no problem doing this. Now right here is a little fingerprint that I've put on this piece of glass, and I would hope that you would never actually touch your own sensor, but this would be the most extreme oil that you'd probably ever have on a sensor. So let's see if this actually picks it up as well. Yeah, look at that. So this may take several passes, and it hasn't gotten it all up, but it's taken, I would say, like 80% of it. So now this little piece of gel is actually getting pretty dirty. I don't know if you can see that on the camera there, but all of the dust, all of the oil, everything we've pulled off of this filter is on the tip of this. So the way to actually clean this now is they have this sticky paper here. And the idea is that you transfer the dust from the gel directly onto the sticky paper. And you just push that down a few times. And the way this works is the sticky paper has more stickiness than the gel itself. So the idea is that it transfers from the less sticky gel to the more sticky paper. And if you can see that there, it is probably 90% clean. I could probably do a little bit more, but let's go back to this fingerprint and see if I can remove just a little bit more now that this is clean. So you can see we pretty much cleaned up a lot of the dust. Anything I've touched this to has removed it relatively easily. There is still a little bit of the fingerprint left, but again, that's such an extreme example. I don't know that you would ever have oil from your finger on your sensor. So this appears from the naked eye to work really well, but we want to test this on our own camera to see how clean we can get our own sensors. Now, if you're like me, you probably are going to be very shocked to find out how much dirt and dust is actually on these old camera sensors, because I usually shoot at 2.8 most of the time, and dust is not really going to be visible until you shoot at a much smaller aperture. So if you're doing landscape work, or I know when I take a camera into the studio and I'm all of a sudden shooting at f8, f16, that's really when the dust really starts to show up in my images. So we want to see if we can remove all of that from the oldest cameras that we own, which are D300Ss, Now, I've found the easiest way to see how much dust is on your sensor is to actually take an image outside at the pure white sky. So let's head out there right now and see how bad this camera really is. So the way you can test your sensor to see how much dust is on it is to set your aperture really low. I have this set to f36, and then I have the ISO, I don't know, at like 1000. And then the shutter speed is fairly slow so I can get a pretty white image. Now, I don't want to blow out the image entirely. You want it just to be white enough so that you can see the contrast between the sky and then the dust that's on your sensor. So I'm going to take a test shot here. I'm just going to point up to the sky. So as you can see here, we have several huge pieces of dust and we really need to remove those. Now, if I was to take the same image at the correct exposure at f2.8, you actually wouldn't see this dust at all. So a lot of you might have a lot of dust on your sensor, but you're completely unaware of it because you're not shooting at small apertures. And you may think, well, I'm never gonna shoot at f36, but these same dust specs will start to show up at f5.6, f8, f16. So it's best to go ahead and get rid of all of the dust so that whatever shoot you're doing, you never have dust showing up on your images. So let's go back inside, let's try to clean the sensor off and see if we can improve it from this test shot we just did. So now that we've taken our test shot, I'm gonna go ahead and clean this actual sensor. The first thing I wanna do is, this is a Nikon D300S, so your camera may vary, but I wanna go into the menu, and under the wrench, there's actually a setting called Lock Mirror Up for Cleaning. And what that's going to do is it's going to push the mirror and shutter up so that you can access the sensor and actually clean it. You do wanna make sure that you probably have 1 or even 2 full batteries in here so that there's no chance that the shutter closes on your brush while cleaning. So I'm gonna take this lens off. This is the first time I've ever cleaned a camera, by the way. And I'm going to go to menu, lock mirror up for cleaning, hit start. It tells me when the shutter is pressed, the mirror is going to lift. So let's do that. And I can see the sensor. So I'm just gonna lay this straight down and I'm gonna take my sensor gel stick and I am just gonna start pushing this down from one corner and slowly going across the sensor, kind of overlapping all the way to the other corner. And then I'm going to go down to the final bottom half. And this is a crop sensor, so it's a little bit smaller than the full frame models. But I did that with about 6 passes. I may just do a few more just to be certain. I'm not really pushing very hard, I'm just touching it lightly and then letting the sensor gel stick kind of do the rest as I pull up. So now I'm just going to take this sensor gel stick and just touch it to the sticky paper and transfer the little bit of dust that I've pulled off. And then just to be thorough, I'm going to do this one more time. All right, and I think that's it. So I'm going to put the lens back on, hit the shutter one more time, and let's take it outside and see how that did. So here we are back outside. Let's take another test shot. I haven't changed any of the settings. And look at that, it looks pretty good. So we'll put this up on the screen. I'll zoom in at 100% and let you guys see all of the corners there. And my D300S is as clean as when I first bought it, so that's pretty incredible. Now, what was even more disgusting than the sensor was actually the viewfinder, the mirror, the prism on top, and I found that I can use the side of this sensor gel stick to remove dust and dirt off of all the other parts that I see through the viewfinder. And it gets pretty narrow down here, and I don't know if this was what it was intended for, but I'm a wild man, so I'm going to try this. And then we're going to, can you see this here? Now you're probably having trouble seeing this on camera, but this sticky paper is pretty filthy. It's really disgusting, and I've only been using this for maybe 2 minutes. And I have some oil, which was probably from the mirror, but I have a lot of dust that came off the sensor, came off the viewfinder, and it's quite amazing that this much crap was in my camera. So I'm going to clean this sticky swab off right now. And then I'm going to put it back in its case, and let's look at this viewfinder to see if it actually made a difference. All right, so let's see how this viewfinder looks. I'm zooming in on something pure white, and I missed a spot in the bottom right-hand corner, but there's almost no lint or dust in this viewfinder, and before, it was actually really distracting to look through here because I had so much dust in there. This camera's probably 4 or 5 years old now. So that's pretty remarkable. I feel like I have a brand new camera. The sensor's clean, the viewfinder's clean, and I would have no problem handing this to an assistant and letting them use this and not complaining to me that this camera's really dirty. So I have to say I'm pretty impressed with this whole process. This is the first time I've ever cleaned a sensor myself, and it worked way better than I thought. It actually was a whole lot easier than I thought. And the nice thing about this gel stick is you can use it over and over and over again. So if you have one camera, if you have 6 or 7 cameras, you're gonna be able to use the same sensor gel stick to clean all of them. Now, as I said earlier in this video, this has only been available through Germany until now. You can head over to photographylife.com/store. You can pick up the wand itself, but you can also pick up extra pieces of sticky paper so that you can use this thing forever. Nassim is actually the only distributor here in the United States for this product, and I believe it's $40, which is amazing because if you've ever sent your camera in to have it professionally cleaned, it can be more than $40 the first time you do it. So this product literally pays for itself, and you can use it over and over again. So if you have a ton of cameras, or if you just take your camera out into really dusty environments, you're gonna be able to clean it over and over and get your money out of it really quickly. Well, that's it, guys. If you do the test, I have a feeling you're gonna find that your sensor is way dirtier than you ever thought. So head over to photographylife.com/store where you can pick up the sensor gel stick and get rid of all of your dust problems forever.